Writing books for me is like how other people feel about having babies. Like I love the experience and I'll do it until my body like gives out on it. When I decided to write a book, I hired a writing coach. Her name's Danielle. She's fantastic. And she read some of my stuff and she's just like, "You're not a fiction writer." And
Mm,
my heart was broken. My dreams were shattered. And I was like, "Well, what am I supposed to do?" So then she gave me this writing exercise, which was morning pages. And after 2 weeks, she said, "Can you write about business? Because what I'm seeing in your writing is you're funny and you're succinct and you tell great stories, and most of them are business related. And in the business world, we need better, funnier storytellers. And I think there's something there." So that's how Sales Tales was born.
Yeah, 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 yeah. Go in there. Let's go. Let's go. Going down, going down, let's go. Let's go. Going down, hey.
Okay, we're back. We're back. We're here. Another episode. We're coming to you on St. Patrick's Day. We're wearing
Yes.
our green, whether you can see it or not. We're wearing our green. And what's up, Mandy? What's new? How was your weekend? What's going on?
Well, a couple things. I have a grievance to file about St. Patrick's Day.
Okay.
And this is probably not popular. I do love St. Patrick's Day. I've had so many fun memories. In fact, this morning I was texting. I have a group, a chat with my Ohio girlfriends, and I was trying to remember a time when we took the train down to downtown Cleveland. We went to the parade. We had so much fun. Not one of my girlfriends remembers being there with me. So I was trying to remember if I was actually there or if it's something I always wanted to do or if I went with a different group of friends. So I have very very fond memories of St. Patrick's Day. But I was actually just trying to figure out where St. What's this history of St. Patrick's Day? And so today I did a little research, and Amani, did you know that St. Patrick is not really from Ireland? Did you know this?
No, but doesn't surprise me. But keep going.
He's not really from Ireland, which is fine. All of us are from
Right.
somewhere else. But here's what I learned, which I thought was interesting. I learned St. Patrick is some from somewhere in the UK. They think he's from Wales. At some point, he was captured and he was relocated to Ireland, where he was enslaved for 7 years. And while he was there, he became ingrained in the culture and the people. And even though he was in a not awesome situation, he actually fell in love with the culture and the people. So when he was released back, I think, to the UK. And then at some point over time, he then went back to Ireland. And, Ireland was typically a pagan or a Celtic from a religious standpoint country. He wanted to bring Catholicism to Ireland. So he became a bishop and he started practicing Catholicism. And this is where a lot of the Irish Catholics started understanding Catholicism versus paganism and, other religions, and which all these religions are fine. Whatever floats your boat is fine, but it was a new religion at that time. And so when the Irish Catholics then moved to the United States, when they migrated to the United States, you have all these pockets of the United States that have Irish Catholics. And so they wanted to celebrate their heritage and their culture here in the United States, which is how St. Patrick's Day came about, because St. Patrick's Day died on March 17th. So
Mm,
St. Patrick's
mm.
Day is more widely celebrated in the United States by Irish communities here in the United States than it is over in Ireland. That's what I learned today. So the only grievance that I'm filing is that he's not from Ireland, and it's not always about the beer or the green or the whatever. It's to celebrate. I think that's important culturally. Let's celebrate our Irish brethren, our Irish friends, and what the migration they made to come here to the United States, and all the great things they've built. This is their day today.
Okay. All right.
Yeah.
Good
Yeah.
explanation.
Money. Okay. Sounds neat.
So see, yes, good explanation. Have to rewatch it. That's good. That's good. Um, Okay. For
What do you
today,
do? Like, what do you do for St. Patrick's Day? Do you have a thing? Do you ever celebrate?
nothing. I do nothing. I
You're
barely
wearing
wear
green.
green.
You're wearing green? That's nice.
Yes, I am. I just changed before we started broadcasting.
Yeah.
So yes. Today we're gonna do an Ask Me Anything. So we're gonna go our March edition. So we're gonna go back and forth and ask us questions. Audience, if you're in the audience, ask us any questions about podcasting, our businesses, what's going on. We've got a lot going on between the two of us. So my first question for you, Mandy,
Yes.
is I know you're dealing with a lot of hotels and
Yes.
working through several things with the hotel.
That's such a nice way to say it, Amani.
Yes. So if you were to share with us maybe the top two or three most reoccurring issues that you are continuing to have to work with hotels with currently in the nicest way possible, what would those two or three issues be?
Oh boy. It's my husband and I were just talking about this morning. It all comes down to customer service. When you have a 24-hour operation like a hotel, like a hospital, like other 24 operations, something is going to go awry. That's just the nature. It's a numbers game, right? There's statistics that support that. It's how you handle that mishap, how you apologize profusely to the customer for that mishap, how you recover from that mishap, all of that matters. And the biggest thing I've seen, and I've had about 6 or 7 mishaps in the last 2 or 3 weeks that have completely taken over my schedule. So it doesn't
Mm,
really matter what I've had planned for the day. I've had to drop everything and handle a hotel mishap. And I think the thing that bugs me about this situation is I 9 times out of 10 am making a suggestion of how the hotel could handle it for me and for my customer when I think it would be really beneficial if the hotel just took a beat, hit a pause, stop hitting the panic button, and they, first of all, apologized, empathized, and then like really strategically thought about the recovery. And this all comes down to customer service. One situation, it was a hotel overreacted, um, double booked some space, which is awful that it happens, but it does happen from time to time. The suggestion that they made was seemingly a suggestion that was simple for them, but it was a huge overhaul on our part of something we had to do. And then at the end of the day, after a week of conversations, they ended up going back to the original plan. We didn't have to have a week of conversations.
mm, mm,
I had another hotel who made a decision that they thought was based in the customer's best interest, but they missed the mark on asking some really important questions that, like, to me were very common sense. Like, can we just hit pause for a minute and like look at this? And oh, if we would have asked like two or three questions, we probably would have made a different suggestion. The suggestion they made was detrimental to the customer. Again, a week of conversations and negotiations to where we ended up back where we started. So I think just like customer service, recovery, empathizing, hitting a beat. And I think people don't realize sometimes, you know, clients put their heart and soul into planning these things and all their creative energy, not just logistics, but their creative energy, mind goes into it. And just recognizing that, like, hey, I'm so sorry we have to do this. I know you probably put so much into this. And then like talk about a solution. I think just the empathy and customer service it's really lacking right now. Not everywhere. There are some great hotels doing some great things, but in my
mm,
world, in the last couple of
mhm.
weeks, it's been hard. I've had a very difficult time doing my job. It's been hard.
Okay. So
Mhm.
customer service, that's one. All
Mhm.
right. Well, no, I'll let you go. So now it's your turn, and we'll see if anything comes from the audience. But what kind of questions, since we're going back and forth, would you have for me? Question number one.
Question number 1. I want to hear about what's happening in your school this season right now with your class. What are they learning? What projects do you have them do? You always have great projects for them.
Mhm.
And like where are they at in the class? Like what's happening right now?
So that's a timely question. We're about halfway through the semester. So we just finished midterms last week, and now is when the students usually get pretty tired. They're pretty much fried for the rest of the semester once they get to
Yeah.
midterms and then spring break, which comes up in 2 weeks. So we've got them working on, so the music business class, they have currently working on their music supervision project. What that is they have to take 4 scenes from a TV show or movie, or it could be those motivational videos we see online, and they have to pair it with a new piece of music. So they're actually
Hmm.
fulfilling the role of being a music supervisor. So they have to pick a scene, popular scenes they'd like to pick, like Spider-Man, or like there's funny classic movies, and they put new music to some of the popular scenes. So that's what they're working on now. For the entertainment operations class, they're gonna be picking a piece of intellectual property and turning it into like a movie or a TV show. Very
Hmm.
similar to how they took Barbie and turned it into a movie, or how they took Super Mario Brothers and turned it into a movie. They have to do the same thing, come up with a proposal. So they're beginning to work on that project right there.
Ooh.
Um, then let me think here. For my strategic business seminar class, our focus now is on storytelling. And so tomorrow's class, I have a challenge for them. It's an improv challenge where I'm going to put up a picture and say, we'll do the exercise with you right now, but you have
Oh,
to use your
fun.
memory.
Okay.
So I want you to take 30 seconds. I'm going to tell you what the picture is. I don't think I can pull it up that fast. And I want you to just tell me a story about the picture. So the
Okay.
picture is going to be a picture of Garfield. So you have 30 seconds. Tell me a story about Garfield. Go.
Okay. Well, I do actually have a story about Garfield, which is why I'm laughing. So when I was in like 5th or 6th grade, I was sitting next to Tom Harpster, who I didn't really have a relationship with, but he was the stepbrother of one of my girlfriends who I was really tight with. He was the brother that was like always at the house. We never really interacted with him. We didn't run in the same circles. Very nice guy. But he one day was sitting at his desk and he was reading a Garfield comic strip. He was laughing so hard at it. His face, his shoulders were bouncing. His face turned so red and he started snotting out his nose. And I went and I got Tom Harpster. I got him some Kleenex. I'm like, "What are you doing? What are you looking at?" And I looked at this and I didn't find it funny at all, but I started laughing because he was laughing. And then because
Yeah.
I was laughing, other people were laughing. And everybody in our row was laughing so hard, but nobody knew what they were laughing at, all because of Garfield. And I later learned that Tom loves Garfield. He loves Garfield so much.
Yeah.
And I didn't know he read him all the time. And it's a moment I had never really paid attention to before. And I might have read him a couple times after, but I have a very fond memory of that. It was just like
Okay.
it was just a hyena laughing moment that was
Yes.
very contagious and fun when I
See,
was younger.
so you did very well. So that's just an
Oh,
exercise
good.
we're doing in class, because they have a final project where they're reviewing a company. They're studying, like, one group is studying like Ulta, the makeup brand, Ben
Hmm.
and Jerry's, Sony, Riot Games, and one more company. I forget what the other company is. Hold on, I'll look here. And they're studying these companies. So I have them required to, Netflix is another company, and they're required to tell 3 stories in their final presentation about the company. So we're practicing storytelling, because how it can apply to them outside of classes when they're interviewing or they're
Mm.
presenting in their job. Like, storytelling is really important and can really help you with the presentation. So that's what we're working
Storytelling's
with.
everything, don't you
It's
think?
everything.
Like
Yeah, it's
in your
everything.
speeches, isn't like my speeches are stats and stories.
Yeah.
People relate to stories, right? Like, don't you think that's everything for speeches
Yeah.
too?
Yeah. I have like this upcoming speech I'm doing in Nashville in a week and a half. Is 3 stories and some stats and exercise in the middle, and that's it. So
Yeah.
yes. So that's kind of how the semester is going. And I'll be back in person tomorrow, so it'll be good. So yeah.
I have a follow-up to this one because you do
Okay.
this every year. And I know you've seen some pretty good case studies before. What are some of the best case studies you've seen, when
Oh.
students are doing this?
Yeah. They one group, they did a presentation on Spotify, phenomenal. And
Okay.
their whole deck, their PowerPoint deck was themed like Spotify. That was phenomenal.
Oh,
Had
that's
another
cool.
group, it was a bunch of my EHM students who were taking my strategic business seminars class. They did Nintendo, and for their final presentation, they all dressed up in different Nintendo characters. It was
Oh,
beautiful. It was lovely.
fun.
Yes, I had a group do that. I've had a group do. Casino. They did Caesars, and they actually had a mock poker game in the middle of their presentation, which was really good. That was
In the
last
middle of
semester.
their presentation?
Yeah, yeah, they did well. They
Cool.
did really well with that. And then another group did Crocs. They did a presentation on Crocs. So those are
Well,
the top four that come to mind. Yeah.
It's Croc season, Amani. So I
It
like
is. I
that.
always wear mine around the house. Got mine on now. So my question to you is, because you do so much and things happen so quickly for you,
Hmm.
if you're going to reflect 3 months in to the year, how are you doing with your goals so far?
I just, I just put my head in my hands. Well, my personal goals, I'm crushing. Like I am 32 and a half pounds down physically.
Amazing.
I
Okay. Hold on.
feel,
Hold on.
oh, thank you. Thank you. I'll take it. I'll take it. I'm doing great health wise. Like I feel great from my anxiety disorder standpoint, from my sleep standpoint, nutrition, emotional, spiritual, financial, business. I'm doing well in all the buckets that I've laid out. So my Best by 50 is going great. BB50 is going good. Um, from a professional standpoint, I had a goal to bring a new person onto my team, and she just started last week, Kelly. I think Kelly's in the audience. We love having Kelly. She's doing a great job.
Yes.
Um, yeah, I mean, I have another personal goal. I wanted to professional goal, CRM. I want to add a new CRM, and I'm a little behind on that, and it's on me because I
Mhm.
had to do some demo calls. I had some demo calls set up with some companies in February, but I had some personal life things happen that derailed me completely, and so I've pushed those off, which is fine. That's just a part of it. But no, I think I'm doing really well with my goals right now. I'm feeling
Okay.
good.
All right. All right. Good.
What about you, Monty?
Um,
How are you doing with your goals?
so goals, I gotta figure out where I wrote them. I was looking now. I think for my goals, obviously the book launch was the big goal for the whole year, which went
Yeah,
tremendously. I exceeded all expectations, so that's phenomenal. Um, Another goal I had business wise was to launch a course, which is pretty much up and getting ready to be launched. Like, so that's done. And then it's just like acquiring coaching clients and speaking, which is all in process and working on now. So business wise, it's kind of coming along. So that's good. Personally, um, I think those still need a little work. I gotta remember what I wrote down personally. I have to check and see, but I'll double check and see. And so I think business wise, doing well. Personally, I probably have to do some catching up for the goals. So I think that's kind of where I stand so far.
yeah, it's good.
Um, yeah, yeah. So that's it. So it's funny. Let me ask you how you would handle this. So last week I went to Sacramento. I DJ'd the opening reception, and then I had a book talk the next day. After the book talk at this conference, the California Charter School Association conference, they always have these like podcasters, podcast interviews with like these kids who are like podcasting, learning how to podcast.
That's cool.
And so they interviewed me. And one of the questions they asked me, I want to see how you'd answer it, and then I would answer it, is they said to me, they said, first of all, it's phenomenal that it took you 4.5 years to write the book. They said, was there anyone that you dealt with during the book writing process or that you was around you that really wasn't for you writing the book, that maybe wasn't a positive influence? And there was one person that wasn't a positive influence. But how would you answer that? And then I'm gonna tell
Hmm.
you how I answer that.
It's funny. I can't remember anybody that wasn't supportive the first time around. In fact, my husband was my biggest cheerleader. He
Nice.
was, and not that he's not normally, because he really is, but just full disclosure, he's not a cheerleader personality in general.
Yeah.
You've met him.
Yeah.
And he's a skeptic, which I appreciate because I'm super positive, right? So I was actually really taken aback how overtly cheerleader he was. It was very warmed my heart. But I will say the second time around, the first time I told, I'm not going to say who it is, but there was a couple people I told, "Hey, I have an opportunity to write another book. I'm working on it." I didn't get the response I thought I'd hear like,
Oh,
"Oh, congratulations," or whatever. I got almost silence or the two of them looking at each other like, "We don't think this is a good idea," or whatever. I
yeah.
didn't ask what that was about, but it was shocking to me because I had such a good experience the first time around, and I feel like I was born to write books. So, but nobody else has reacted. There was just like a couple people that did that I found that to be weird. Um,
Yeah.
I didn't think it was negative. I just found their response to be weird,
Interesting. So
which
how
is
will you
fine.
handle that? And then I'll answer my question. How will you handle that moving forward? Because you're getting ready to start, or you're already starting to write the next book.
Yeah, the next book's almost done. I don't care. I mean, I'm gonna write books till the day I die. I don't care if people are happy about it or not. I was just surprised
Yeah.
about
Yeah.
that response, but I don't really care. I mean, I'm in the flowest of flow states. I'm the
Good.
happiest of all humans. Like I feel really good writing books. So
That's
you know what?
good.
If you don't
Yeah.
like it, piss off, I guess. Oh, sorry, Monty.
That's
You have to
okay.
now you have to put the
Fine.
E. Now you
That's
have to put
okay.
the
Yeah.
E.
We're good. We're
Sorry.
good. So the
Sorry.
way I answered the question was, I
Yeah,
was
how
like,
did you answer it?
I was like, I said, that's a good question. And I kind of knew what they might have been thinking of. There's usually two people that will not be for you doing something like writing a book. If you're their age, it would be like a parent or a family member that's like, I don't think you should do that. I think you should do this. Or it
Mhm.
could be like a significant other. So
Mhm.
I was like, well, when I was in the process of writing my book, I was dating someone that probably wasn't the best for me and really blocked my creativity.
Mhm.
And so I said, so I had to kind of go through that. And then I told them the story about how I finished the research in like December of 2021, but then almost all of 2022, I was kind of stuck. I couldn't get anywhere. There were two reasons why. The first reason was there was someone who was around me I was dating that wasn't the best for me, just was like, oh, you should write a book about this other subject that was really negative and not this. And so that just got me stuck. And I didn't know where to get started with the book because it was so daunting to go decade by decade by decade. I didn't know a lot about the groups in the 50s or the 60s. So I had to start in the 80s and kind of work my way backwards to do that.
Mm.
And so I said, what I did was I started in the 80s to write the book. And then also had to get that person that was not good for me kind of away and out of me and start to heal and work through that. And finally, when I got to like 2023, it started to be better. And then I went on a music solo writing retreat to Minnesota. And that's when it really took off. And I said the lesson I learned is that you have to view yourself like a house, and you have to be really, really careful who you let inside your house because that's very
Mhm.
personal. I said people can come up to the door and knock, and you can come outside and talk to them and entertain them, but you have to be very, very careful who you let in your house because it can affect all parts of your life. And they really like that analogy and everything too. So I wanted to share that.
I love that, Amani. I never thought that's such a good visual. Like, be careful who you let in your house. People are going to knock on your door. You could still open the door and talk to them, but like letting them in your house is a threshold that you've got to be wise about. That reminds me of there was a video on Instagram a couple weeks ago about like when somebody says, "What are you doing this weekend?" and you're like, "I'm doing nothing." Like me doing nothing is not an invitation for you to gobble up my time and my plans. Like I am fine and happy doing
Yes.
just nothing. But
Yes.
it's kind of like the same thing. Just because you have a little space doesn't mean you're allowing people to jump in your space. Like
Yeah.
you've got your
Yeah.
house, doesn't mean everyone's welcome or can come in. You've got to be conscious of that. Yeah, I think that's
Yeah.
a really interesting visual. I appreciate that.
Yeah. Yeah. So that's just a fun story. Um, I think we asked your question, then I think we might have a question from the audience.
Um, well, I want to know. I know we've talked a lot about your sleep. We've talked about your Peloton. But soccer is something you used to do that you loved doing. What role is soccer playing in your life these days, if at all? And it's okay if it's not. It's something I haven't asked you really ever, but
Yeah.
I know how
Yeah.
much you love soccer.
I do. No role at all. Soccer is gone. It's gone. So, um, yeah, maybe eventually pickleball might maybe take its place, but pickleball is very different. It's very different because soccer you used to have like a team of like 9 or 10 people, and you kind of get together. Pickleball is usually one or two people at most.
Yeah.
So that's an area that's like missing. Um, yeah, I don't quite know.
Yeah, what is it though? Like, so, I mean, I know there's some things I've had to let go of physically for different reasons. We could talk about that, but like, why is soccer? Do you want to keep it in the past? Is it like a physical thing, or is it like you don't really want to play on teams? You don't have time. What's the reason?
I was just kind of my hamstrings were pretty bad, so I was just really wanted to kind of do some things that were less strenuous on the body,
Yeah,
and I was just worried about my legs, whatever, because I see people like tear ACLs and stuff, and I just wanted to kind of stop while I was ahead, and just focus on like some more cardio and weight training. So that's why I stopped. I could always start up again, but I think I'm good. I just got to figure out what team aspect I can use to replace it,
hmm.
and maybe that's improv. I don't know, but yeah.
I feel the same because I used to love boxing and I can't box
Oh,
anymore, and flag football. Like
yeah.
the older we get, if we want to
Yeah.
be active and mobile, we've got to just be kinder and gentler to our
Yeah.
bodies. And we could still work out, but I'm with you.
Yeah.
It's hard to,
Yep.
I remember hanging up my cleats. When I hung up my
Yep.
cleats for flag football, I was sad, but
Yep.
those were good times. Those were,
Yeah.
but it's a lot. That's a lot. The running and the sprints and the start stops, that's a lot on your body as we age. So I get that.
Yeah. Yeah. So that's that. Okay. Question. I don't know who asked this question. It said, if you could interview anyone on the podcast, dead or alive, who would it be and why?
Amani, you go. I think I know what you're going to say.
You know my answer is Babyface. That's one. I'll give you a part two. Maybe Les Brown would be a good person to interview too.
We
Which
could
which
interview
is
Les Brown.
we sure could. So that comes to mind. That'd be number two. Number three would be I wonder want to interview like Ed Milet. He's like in the self-development world. He'd be pretty interesting. But really, it's the wife of your guy. It's Jesse Itzler's wife, because with Spanx and everything, I would love to interview her.
Sarah
So
Blakely.
Sarah Blakely, excuse me. Not just
I
yes.
That's a
Yeah.
hard one for me because I love Sarah Blakely, but we've reached out to Jesse and he said yes, but then he got busy, so we've got to reach back out.
Yeah.
I would love to interview Jesse Itzler on our show. He's made such an impact on me personally from being in his coaching programs. Just for the chance to tell him thank you
Yeah.
for
Yeah.
he's it's been life changing being in his program since 2021. It's been life changing. So I would love to interview him, and obviously Sarah Blakely. Kendra Scott,
Ooh,
what a
yeah.
story she has. Her autobiography, Born to Shine, is really, really good. I didn't realize the life she's had a hard life, and she's
Hmm.
had some crazy near death experiences, unbusiness related, that like it's just like you have to figure out how somebody's as resilient. So I would love to interview Kendra Scott. Um, I mean, Oprah Winfrey.
Yeah.
Who
Yeah. Hmm.
wouldn't want to have Opes on the show if we're really aiming for it? I mean, I've got we have a hit list. So everybody listening or watching, we actually have a hit list. We have a show flow. We have all of our guests and everything about their guests for the future. And then we actually have a hit list at the bottom of that. And we've actually interviewed some of the people on our
Yeah.
hit list because when we interview them, we mark them green.
Yep. Yeah.
So yeah, I'd love to get Babyface on the show just for you, Amani. I feel like that
Mhm.
would be such a sweet surprise
Yeah.
for
That would be
you.
amazing. I'd be ready.
Yeah,
Yes. I have my
yeah.
questions ready. So yeah. Let's go back to okay, your book.
Mhm.
You're writing your book. I have a two-part question. The first part is, what lessons did you learn the first time you wrote a book that you're going to apply to this next book? And then, what lessons did you learn from my most recent book experience and launch that you would apply to your upcoming launch or writing release?
Okay, I love this. Well, first time around, I learned midway through to ask for help, and people show up for you. And I was so humbled by that I've just been showing up for people ever since, because I was so humbled by the people that came out of the woodwork and showed up and helped. And it provoked me to ask for more help. And then I was then willing to help anybody. So that was a lesson learned. I would have asked for help earlier. Um, I have a great publisher, and I did all the marketing myself the first time around. And I'm glad I did, because now I know exactly what it takes to become a bestseller like I was. But I don't wanna do that this time around. I wanna outsource that. I'm gonna hire somebody to do that. But I'm glad I did it, because now when I'm investing the time and energy into that, I know I can hold that team accountable. I know exactly what it takes. Like the first time around, I had a PR team, and quite frankly, I didn't really like what they did. I thought they were
Mm,
out of touch and they were not, and they were ineffective, but I didn't know. I was like, "Is this must be book PR." This time around, I know exactly what to do and how to do it. So, that would be my lessons learned. And then for you, the thing that you did, I did this in a little bit of a way, but I didn't name it. I think the thing that you did on steroids was you created the book army,
mm,
and within the book army, you were very, you gave the assets for us to share, you gave the talk track for us to share, you gave us all the things we needed to be able to share that. And I love that. I thought that was great. And I was Erin Deal when she wrote her book, I See You, which is a beautiful leadership book.
mhm,
If you are a senior leader or a brand new leader, it applies to really anybody. Her book, I See You, I was on her book army. She didn't call it book army. I think she called
mhm.
it the squad or something.
Yeah, yeah.
But you were on her squad too. And I learned a lot from both of you watching how you shared information like that. And so I'll definitely have a book army or a squad or
Yes.
something
Sign
that
me up.
rhymes.
I'm ready.
Yeah.
Send me the assets. I'm ready. So
Thank you, Amani.
I'm ready to
Thank
go.
you.
Yes, yes. Okay, your turn. And then we have another question from the audience.
We'll take the question from the audience. Let's do that.
Okay, what's about books? So Kelly Lester, she asked us, where did you both draw inspiration for your books? Did you always know you wanted to write about that subject, or was it more of a roundabout journey to get there?
Mm. Amani, go first because you've got your DJ book and your other book. I feel
Yes.
like you've got a lot of answers on this.
So the DJ book was just about the inspiration was to be like a thought leader, more than just a DJ, so be like a thought leader in a creative space. That was the initial inspiration for that one. Um, and then for the Quiet Storm, that was a continuation of my thesis from grad school. And I just, when I wrote the thesis, I was like, oh, this would be a book. This could be a really good book. Nothing's really been written about it. It was quite daunting, but I said, oh, I think I can do it. And I did it. So for both those, I never really figured I was going to be writing books. But now that I'm two in, it's kind of like you kind of get the bug, maybe. We'll see, because I need a break now. But yeah, so that'll be my answer to that. What about you?
I mean, writing books for me is like how other people feel about having babies. Like I love the experience and I'll do it. I'll do it until my body like gives out on it. I love writing books. Um I've always thought I was going to write a book since I was a little kid. In fact, somebody bought
Oh.
me a t-shirt that says be careful or you'll end up in my novel. And
Ooh, I
I've been
like that.
writing since I was a little girl. I've had journals that I've carried around with me. I love meeting interesting people. I've been writing profiles on people for years. And then when I decided to write a book, I hired a writing coach, and her name's Danielle. She's fantastic. And she read some of my stuff and she's just like, "You're not a fiction writer." And
Mm,
my heart was broken. My dreams were shattered. And I was like, well, what am I supposed to do? So then she gave me this writing exercise, which was morning pages. She said, I want you to write 3 pages, double spaced every morning for 2 weeks, and I'm going to read all of them. So she did. And after the 2 weeks, she said, okay, can you write about business? Because what I'm seeing in your writing is you're funny and you're succinct and you tell great stories, and most of them are business related. And in the business world, we need better, funnier storytellers. And I think there's something there. And I was not happy about that because I was like, well, that sucks because I'm living and breathing business all day, every day. Writing's supposed to be an escape for me. And she's like, I think you can do this. So then I said, okay, as long as there's an arc, like I just want there to be some order to it. So that's how Sales Tales was born because I thought, okay, I can write a sales book telling all these different stories, my own stories. And then, as you know, I've told a lot of other people's stories in that book too. But I wanted it to be in the order of a
yeah.
typical sale. So it goes in the order of a
Mhm.
transaction, a sales transaction. So if you're reading it, you can actually follow the order with whatever business you're working on right now and apply some of those. But you don't have to read the book in order. You can just pick it up and put it down because the stories are there and they're brief and quick and fun. And so, yeah, that was my inspiration. And now that I did one funny business book, now I feel like I'm just into it. I'm into
Okay.
funny business books, so that's my
Uh-huh.
jam.
That's a good question. So I have a follow up that we both can answer. Like, and I'll kind of give you the context. So I'm working with Berkeley College of Music,
Hmm.
and I'm doing two webinars for them. The first webinar is on it's time to take action and put those words onto paper. The
Hmm.
second webinar is like 7 ways to earn more money as a musician.
Hmm.
The first time I did this, we had maybe 20 people sign up for the revenue workshop on earning more revenue. We had 85 people sign up for the book writing webinar. Why do you
Mm.
think there's so many people nowadays that are interested in writing books?
I think people want to tell their story. I think there are so many interesting stories out there that we're not even hearing or we're not even reading. I also think people think they're way more interesting than they are. I think there's like I think it's both sides. There's a
Really?
lot of interesting stories nobody's telling, but then there's a lot of people who think they're way more fascinating than they are. And that's probably 85 people and that's in that
Yeah.
subset, right?
That's just because
Why do
that is
you
a
think?
I don't know. I don't know. Like, I think a lot of people, maybe now, I guess the barrier to entry is so low with,
Yeah.
the rise of independent publishing and hybrid publishing that people now see it's more, uh, with the internet, it's more like it can happen.
Yeah.
But like, I don't know. I don't know. That's maybe why. And then people just get inspired by other people they see writing books. But I think the hardest thing for these 85 or more people really is that the hardest thing is to finish the book. That's the hardest thing. You could start as many books as you want, but finishing it
Right.
is the hardest.
Yeah. Finishing
Yeah.
it is hard. I agree.
Yeah.
It's not that hard. Well, I'm going to ask you this. What did you find the most difficult in terms of not the structure, but the actual process of writing your book?
I would say number one, like finishing it 3 times. Final manuscript, first edits, second edits. The second thing was like getting the photos for my book, negotiating to get them, putting them in the book, and finishing that whole process. And then three would be like doing the audiobook, was like just doing that at the same time. That
Yeah.
will be the hardest. And then it's really just the finishing was the hardest because it's
Yeah.
like pulling it over the finish line.
What do you think about the finishing? Is it like making time for it? Is it getting in the right brain space for it? Is it like what about the finishing is so difficult?
I think that realizing that it'll never be 100% perfect, there'll always be
Hmm.
something that you want to add, change, adjust. So you got to get over that. Like it's done. It's done. Turn it in. You can always do a second or third edition. And then I think it's just the mindset, just getting it across, like just finishing it. It's hard on the mind because that's would be number two, I think. Yeah.
Are you September 14 or 16 for your birthday?
14. 14.
Oh, Virgo. Well, that makes
Yeah.
sense. The
Yes. Yeah.
perfectionism,
Yeah.
Virgo. You're Virgo, right?
I am. This
Yeah,
is
that
true.
makes sense. That makes sense. Yeah, I don't have issues with it being imperfect. I don't care.
Yeah.
But I think that's very common. A lot of people do, and I think that's common, like in social media. A
Hmm.
lot of people are afraid to post because they want it to be perfect, and they record something like 20 times and then they never post it. It's just like just get it out there,
Yeah.
and you're going to learn on the fly, right? Like,
Yeah.
and I and I think we should probably talk about this kind of like this building in public idea and this learning on the fly. So today we had a guest. So should we share the process of
Sure.
what we do to secure guests, like what this all looks like? Do you want to share that at all? Because is anybody wondering? Do you think anybody's wondering why we're doing an
Sure.
Ask Us Anything right
Well, we
now?
had a guest that was supposed to be with us today that they just weren't able to make it. And so we had to kind of scramble with 3 minutes left on the clock before we realized they weren't able to make
TikTok.
it to do an episode. But Ask Me Anything is always very, very well received. It's fun for us because Manny and I can interview each other for all day. So that just
Yeah.
it's just fun and it's easy for us to do. But usually we have guests that we invite to the show. If they say yes, we send them a link, a calendar link. They pick the date, the time. Then we have a great team behind the scenes, Cassie and crew who helps to communicate with the guests, get them all set up with the invitation, instructions on how to use the platform. We use Ping, we use OBS, and then they show up 15 minutes before broadcast. We fill them in, we're off and running. We very like we've been very, very fortunate to it's a very smooth running machine. And that's kind of the process. We record. Then we send them some clips, we post it up, and we keep going. Did I miss anything?
No, no. Well, the only thing is on Thursdays, we send the invite, we put the invite on LinkedIn that everybody sees. And then between
Yes.
Thursday to Monday, we're sending because LinkedIn puts you in invite jail. You can't send more than a certain amount of invites. So we're
Yeah.
sending invites every day between Thursday to Monday. So that's probably when you, as a listener or watcher, that's when you see it in your inbox. So
Mhm.
there is a lot of work that goes into getting the guests, communicating with the guests. Amani and I do research
Oh
on
yes.
the guests. Like I'm looking at a page of questions right now. I was so excited for the guests today. Like we do a lot of research on the guests and then we do a lot of promotion and cross marketing of the guests
Mhm.
because we want the guests, we're this is a business show. We're
Mhm.
all about lifting people up. And number one, we want to provide really good guest content. So you, as a listener, as a watcher, have some takeaways that help you in your business. But number two, we also want to promote the guest. So if the guest has something that they're promoting or a new service or a new book or something like that, we want this to be an opportunity for them to share. So we structure our questions with you as the audience in mind and with the guest in mind too. So a lot of work goes into that. And then I think this has only happened like one other time. In 3 years, we've only had this happen twice where it was just like last minute, a couple of minutes before the show where we
Mhm.
didn't know the guest was coming. And again, stuff happens. It's no shade on the guest. Stuff happens. And that's why we're doing the Ask Us Anything. But I didn't realize till I had my own podcast because I've been on podcasts a lot. And there have been sometimes as a guest of a podcast, I'd be like, oh, I don't want to do this. And I always showed up. But there were a couple times where I was like, I'm just going to reschedule. Like now, I would never reschedule
Yeah.
because
Yeah.
so much goes into it that it's
Yeah.
just I want to respect that the podcast manager's time or the host's time and know that, everything else that goes into it. So that's why we're doing the Ask Us Anything today. And
Yeah.
we could ask each other questions all day long. I
Okay.
kind of like
Yeah.
this. It's fun.
Yeah. Yeah. Final one. Final round of question. What's your last question for me or us for today's show?
Okay, Amani. When you're preparing for your live interviews that you do, like you're doing a live interview show for MPI this summer, and you do these live things all the time in person, not just behind the screen. What's your process? What's your prep process, and like what's your day of process?
So process before we get to the day of is I will research them. When I research them, I will watch a few interviews they've done in the past. I will also try to read some interviews they've done. I get a lot of information if someone has transcribed the interview. I'll try to read interviews they've done. If they have a book and I have enough time, like with Gabby, Natalie, I had enough time to read her book, so I could ask some really, really relevant questions. Oh, there was another book that I read. She's been on our, I'm forgetting her name, based in Australia. I read her book too. I listened to
Paula.
her book. Yes, yes.
Hmm.
I listened to her book. So if I can read or listen to your book or interviews, I'll do that. Then the day of, I try to set up the interview with a couple questions at the beginning to really put them at ease and let them know that I've done research. So, for example, um, I think we're going to interview Princess Sarah here in a few weeks. She's on the
Yeah.
list now. And so I know that she was a really good basketball player in the state of West Virginia. So when I interviewed her last year at WEC, I said, "Tell us about the time when you scored 35 points playing basketball as the point guard and you had like 12 assists." And she was like, "Oh my gosh, how do you know that?" But then
That's
she got
good.
really excited and talked about it, and that put her at ease. And we had a great interview after that. I think another example would be, I'm forgetting my person's name. She's from Indianapolis. Oh, I forget her name. With MPI, I have to look up her name. And so I said, let's play a game. I said, I'm thinking of a musician who's from Indianapolis, and they are famous and legendary. Take a guess. I'll give you two guesses who it is. She's like, Babyface. I said, oh my gosh, you got it. And she actually told a story about how she went to high school with Babyface and knew about him and everything.
Oh,
So
did you cry? I feel like
so
that would make you so
I didn't cry, but I was
happy.
very impressed. It was one of my highlights.
Yeah.
I actually clipped that. I clipped that part of the interview and put it on my Instagram. So there's just some things that I'll do to really put people at ease, but also let them know that, okay, I'm serious because I've done my research. So the questions I'm going to ask going to have some thought to it, and it's not going to be your cookie cutter questions.
I think you ask spectacular questions.
Thank
I
you.
I love how in depth you go into research. It's pushed me to go in depth because I'm kind of the person where I can just listen to an interview and I instantly am inspired to ask questions. But because of your in depth questions, I always feel like it's a challenge. I'm like, I gotta ask a deeper question. Like, I want to
You
ask a
do
deeper
well.
question than
You do
Amani.
well. You do well.
Yeah, no, you raised the
Yeah.
bar for sure, Amani. I
Yeah.
appreciate that.
So my question, well, Kelly, I'm just going to ask Kelly's question. She has another one. What is your dream podcast to be a guest on? So I'm going to ask you that, then I'll answer, and then we will venture
I
out.
mean, I armchair expert. There's no reason I should ever be on that show, but like,
Right.
I would love to yuck it up with Dax and Monica in the attic. I'd love, they interview experts on expert. I certainly think I could be a sales expert interviewed. I have a book. I don't know why I couldn't be, but I'm not a famous person. They only really interview like famous
Hey, those
people.
people. Yeah.
But that would just be fun. That would be
Yeah.
super fun to be on that show. What
Mine's
about you?
kind of the same as you. Like it's this podcast called R&B Money podcast with Tank and Jay Valentine. Like they just interview famous people. Like they just had Smokey Robinson on, and they have all these famous people, Shantae Moore recently. So I would never be on the radar, but to be on that podcast and talk about R&B music and the things, that would be amazing. That's like a dream. I don't know if it'll happen because I'm not famous, but we could put it out there. So
Let's put it out into the universe.
both of ours are like dream ones. I wouldn't mind being on Mel Robbins' podcast. She's
Mhm.
interesting. I like hers. Um, there's a couple others too.
Yeah, I think that's a good one. That's a good
Yeah,
question, Kelly. Thanks for
yeah,
asking.
yeah.
I want
Thanks
Kelly to
for
drop in the chat what podcast she wants to be on.
yeah,
That's
yeah.
a
Put
that's
that
a
in the
fun one.
chat, Kelly.
Mhm.
Now, who do we have to look forward to next week?
Next week we have Chad Yarvitz, who is the president of Explicit Fitness. So he is another wellness expert. I'm trying to get a lot of wellness people in here, so we don't forget how important the wellness is in business. But he's also a former professional boxer. So
Ooh,
he's got some performance stuff to talk about, but he's a businessman who's run a business for almost 20 years through lots of ups and downs. And he's a dad and a husband. It's just a little bit of everything. So I'm really excited to have him on. I think, and he's fun. He's really fun.
all right. We look
Mhm.
forward to it. Thank you all for listening and watching our Ask Me Anything this March edition. Make sure that you rate, review, subscribe to the podcast on the platform that you're watching or listening on. And we appreciate the support. We will see you next week with our next guest. And we just love doing our Ask Me Anything. So thanks for tuning in. Leave us more questions for the next one. And with that, we will see you next time.
See you next
Take care,
time. Thanks
everyone.
for joining in, friends. Thank you for tuning in to Adventures in Business. Don't forget to rate and review our podcast on the platform that you're currently listening it on. And don't forget to share it with your friends and anybody that might be as much of the business nerds as Amani and I are. See you next time for another captivating interview.